I never once said those drivers' names.
I had that situation. I did like we split it all up. You did our strategy call for our times of what we were going to be on air.
Yeah, I thought I'd escaped that job.
And you did all that for us, and we all kind of. I basically did 6 hours, six or 7 hours during 6 hours, I think, during free practice and qualifying. I think it might have been 8 somewhere. 8.
Yeah.
And there was cars that I hadn't seen. The number 80 Porsche. I didn't see that ever on track whilst I was in the commentary box. And you know what I mean? The 99 Porsche, the other kind of greeny colour one, I never saw that on the track.
And yet there's blood, sweat, tears, hopes, anticipation, desperation, crushing, you know, disappointment, jubilation.
Amazing
Who knows?
stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Big lock up here for the 23. Wow.
Holy moly, that right rear is not going to be, well, right front possibly, not going to be worth having on for much longer. That's Timothy Bouret, who's hanging on to 3rd place. And is that Paul-Luc Chatin right behind him? Yes, it is.
I don't understand that 1 second. What's the 1 second?
That's because Paul-Luc Chatin is right behind him. Now, this is Nico Lapierre in a Cinetic Alpine car. What replay are we seeing here?
I think Lapierre's just done him. I think this is a position change, because look, Lapierre now ahead of Brouet.
In front of Timothy Brouet. So was that Lapierre doing it? No, it was 23 doing a monster lockup.
Me, yeah.
So Lapierre went by him into Indianapolis, and there is Hugues de Schonack, the boss of Orica. So it is his chassis that leads with Roman Rusinov and the Cinetic Alpine. Now I'm going to try and remember if that's an Orica or a Ligier chassis.
I'll get this little book out. What
well,
it's the
Alpine. Well, it's named as an Alpine, but it's built by Ligier or Orica, and I can't remember which. I think it's a Ligier chassis. Anyway, Orica leading with Hugues de Schonack. Hugues de Schonack, who, by the way, was running the car that retired on the last lap of the race at Le Mans 2 years ago, the Toyota. I spoke to him at breakfast on one of the rare appearances that I've made in Toyota's hospitality. On that morning, I was with Jeremy Shaw, the American journalist, and spoke to Hugues, who is always such a lovely chap to chat to, and he just wandered through, and I said to him, Hugues, you won 25 years ago with Le Mans, with Mazda, didn't you? And he said, yes. I said, it was 25 years this year, wasn't it? He said, yeah. And I said, you haven't won overall since, have you? Because you won several times running Orica Vipers in class.
Yeah.
I said, you haven't won overall, have you? He said, no. I said, all right. That would be a nice anniversary. And he kind of smiled, and I smiled, and it was 5 minutes from being a nice anniversary.
To be fair, I mean, I was actually sat in the commentary box with Peter Dunbreck, and you know, that was my 2nd Le Mans.
Yeah.
And the team radio came on after the chicane, and we heard him say, I have no Nakajima, I have no power, I have no power. And we looked at each other, Peter, and go, that he really did say that, didn't he? And we were silent for about 10 seconds, and he was like, it'll be all right. And then the data came up, and he wasn't going any more than 200 kph, and we were like, okay, this is a problem. But can he do it? Can he do it?
It was astonishing.
And he lost it. The number 2 Porsche overtook him on the start-finish line, starting the last lap. So 3 minutes, 27 seconds or whatever to go, and they lost it. And then they didn't even finish because they were not classified because they didn't do the last lap in the 6 or the 7 minutes as the rule was at the time.
Right, I'm catching up now. I'm afraid I've scrolled about an hour forward through the questions. Jenny Womack in Kissimmee, Florida. She was the one who had calculated that the Porsche had led 97.5 of the race so far. And Formula E Geek is getting all badass on our maths. Now, I was working out that by the time the Toyota got to 200 laps, which is in 4 laps' time, the number 11 Ginetta would not have completed 75% of its distance. However, I then said, so they need to basically make up 2 laps in the next 12 hours. However, of course, with double the number of 200 laps, the distance, if the distance remains the same at 52 laps behind, that won't be 25% of the full race distance, it'll be 25% of the distance now. So if the gap remains the same, actually they'll only be about 12 or 13% behind, so they will be classified. So Formula E, you're absolutely right. I was working on at halfway, they're not within 75% because they're more than 50 laps behind. But with double the number of laps on the board, 50 laps won't be 25%, it'll only be 13% distance. So unless the number 11 car has another problem, they will be classified. So he's saying if you're 50 laps behind with 200 laps done and still 50 laps behind with 400 laps done, then you're good to go.
I mean, we're not going to get to 400 laps, are we? We're 12 hours, 5 minutes, 10 seconds in, and we're on 196
Yeah,
laps.
we're not going to be that shy. I was rounding up to help my abysmal... I can do it with a pen and paper, but I can't watch the TV screen and the timing screen and read Twitter and do maths on a pen and paper. So something has to go, and as anybody who's ever heard me commentate knows, my live on-air maths never works.
My maths full stop doesn't work.
And I unfortunately, I don't have a mathematician or lap charter with me to do jobs like that. We don't go that far. 73.4%. What's that, Jake Wilson? Oh, just 73.4%. Oh, that's how much distance they've done now, not how much they will do. And Damon D is actually in the city of Vancouver, another beautiful city, where I will be for 2 weeks. I won't actually, I'll be up the hill in Whistler for 2 weeks, up the end of the Sea to Sky Highway for the IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup in February, for the World Championships, in fact, in February 2019. So 2 weeks in Whistler. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
You know, I've not really watched any kind of like Winter Olympic sports or anything.
Mate, you want it.
I kind of like, when I was a kid, you went on a skiing holiday and thought, right, I can be a downhill skier. But you know what puts me off the whole thing? One, getting hurt. Two, the amount of clothes you've got to wear. Oh, it does my head in having to go. When I go to Rally Sweden, you've got like 4 or 5 layers on. Then your mobile phone rings and you're like, where's that at? By the time you get it out, you've missed it.
Don't answer it. That's fine.
Well, I don't, because I can't find the phone in time.
Pit stop for TDS Racing. Mathieu Vazivière is out of the 28 car. This car is 5th in the LMP2 class, and these guys are still in with a shot at the podium. You know, we're just into the second half of the race, 7 minutes past the middle of the race, and these guys are definitely in with a shout. They've been in the top 3, so have IDEX Sport, who started on pole, G-Drive Senior Tech and Panis Barthez, perhaps the slight surprise there in the top 3, but anyone in the top 5, conceivably even, Graf in 6th place, who've got Tristan Gomedy, their hot shoe at the wheel at the moment, could end up on the podium.
I saw them just pull a rip-off the windscreen. If you're wondering what that was, they have like layers of plastic glass, so to speak, like basically like a sticker, a see-through sticker, and I'm not sure how many's on for the race, 15 or whatever, but every so often they pull one off, and they clean the windscreen every time, but then they just pull one off every so often just to kind of give them fresh.
Race leader is Jose Maria Lopez by 1 minute and 14 seconds from Fernando Alonso. Toyota hybrids still 1-2, as they have been since the end of qualifying. Going by is that the 47 Villorba course car? Yes, it is. Felipe Nasser in 21st place overall.
But Lopez very careful. He doesn't need to panic. Very careful.
Puts another lap on him. They've got a loose connection in their lights, haven't they?
Do you think that's... Well, yeah.
Well, because he's not flashing at anybody deliberately, but it is flashing. So there's a duff earth in the nose there somewhere. And now he's probably looking so far beyond that, it's now actually no longer bothering him.
So it's stopped now, so I don't know whether it's...
Well, I don't know why he would be flashing or why the flashing system would still be on.
Is it on a timer, so you press the button once and it flashes?
Yes, no, it is on a timer, because you're only allowed to flash a maximum number of times, because people used to just hold it on, but now it's mandated. You can only flash a maximum number of times. I don't know what the maximum is, but I do know there is a maximum number of times, like 5 or 6 or something. Dr. Yobbo, who sounds like a larrikin if ever I heard of one, says, don't know what your man is on about. Jack Brabham wasn't from Warwick. He was from southwest Sydney, the suburb of Hurtsville. He retired to a farm between Sydney and Melbourne. Warwick's a few hours west of Brisbane. So, Dick Johnson? Is Dick Johnson from Warwick? Dick O? I don't know. So definitely Alan Grice.
I have no idea.
I don't know. No,
Peter
no.
Brock, people like that.
No,
you know?
no. I think Brocky is from Victoria. I'm pretty sure he is. Anyway.
I know where I'm from, and that's about it, if I'm honest.
I know where I'm going to. I don't know where I'm going to. Okay. Formula E Geek, having corrected my maths, is now rewarding himself with a beer because he set the world to rights. You know, that is the power of the internet. I have corrected all the wrongs and the rights. The Earth is back on its axis, trying to crack open a cold one. Well done.
The Alpine is
Absolutely.
an Orica chassis.
Thank you very much. Yes,
That's Mark Whitelock.
Well done, Mark. Thank you very much for that. Fake Charlie Whiting's here, by the way, who a lot of Twitter followers will know. And if you're not following Fake Charlie Whiting on Twitter, which is at Charlie_Whiting, you absolutely must. And Charlie is having an espresso right now, lucky soul. I'm having half-hour-old brewed pot of coffee. Somebody did ask earlier, how much tea and coffee will we get through? Well, we'll get through no more tea because Karun made the last
No way.
about 4 hours ago. No, we've got loads of tea bags. We've got a kettle. We've got the teapot. We've got the individual personalised mugs. But there's only 2 of us. We haven't got time to go and make a cuppa yet. So
I don't drink tea, so
I'm on the coffee. Well, we've got coffee. There's
I
coffee
don't
in the
drink tea or
pot.
coffee.
No, you don't. I haven't got any Coke. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I got some from our fantastic production team who have a. It's called a meeting room, but we only ever go in it to get sweeties and drinks.
Yeah, it's basically eating room.
Yeah,
eating is what it is.
It's the only time I go in it. But our fantastic production team who keep us. I actually think someone must have been down because I think there's some drinks and some snack bars were dropped off, and I know they did that in the past. Whose is the?
That's my bottle of water.
Oh, that's your bottle of water.
That's for
that looks like a racing driver's bottle of water there. That's like a proper drinks bottle.
Yeah, it is a proper drinks bottle. It's my first proper drinks bottle. I'm also, here we go, live effects. Okay. I'm going into the cool box of chocolate.
I know.
And I'm going for a bite-sized Kit Kat. So there will be a period where Julian speaks and I don't interrupt him.
Well, the 38 car is in for a stop there. I just need to try and find out where that 38 car currently is sat. That is in 23rd overall, 18th LMP2 with Raquelme aboard that car. So 11 hours, 47 minutes. I'll tell you what happened earlier on. When I was having my dinner, I looked at the clock at the top of the screen and it said 19:29 and so many seconds. I was like, oh, it's 7:30. And then I looked at the clock again. I thought that's counting downwards. So I looked at my watch and it was 19:29 and a different amount of seconds. It was the 2 clocks were virtually identical. Time of day to what was left in the race was virtually identical. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, that is.
Now, if we were really good at maths,
which we're not, we've discovered that,
we could work out if there's any other time in the race where time remaining and time of day are the same.
There can't be. There can't
Might be.
How? 4, 5, 7 in the morning to 7 hours?
Something like that. 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, no, 14, 15. No, it doesn't finish till 15. So 8 and 8, 8 a.m.
That's
that would be 16. That'd be 4. So 7:30, 7.5, 7.5. Yes!
Which was what I saw earlier on. It was 19:30 and 19:30.
At night time.
Yeah. At
so,
night time.
So a stop clock is right twice a day, and so is the hours remaining and hours of day synchronous. Just want to say hello to Taylor Edwards, who is watching from Atlanta, Georgia, a former Panos Racing team buddy of mine from the ALMS NBC days.
As someone said very early on, it might have been you or it might have been Toby. We actually said it, I think, during the week, not even in this race. It was in qualifying or practice. It is kind of like daytime somewhere in the world, even though we're in the middle of the night now. There's always, and obviously, like, America is behind us.
5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm talking of that.
Past the tinnies. No, stop that already.
No. But McNish came back with the bottle of gin. He stole that bottle of gin last night, you know. He took it to his house. But we didn't notice.
And you know he's gone off with it again.
Has he?
Tom Christensen.
Oh, it's Tom been in.
Well, yeah, so midnight tonight, they were having a reunion for one of Alan's wins. I think it was Alan's last win, which was him, Tom, and Dindo.
And Dindo's not here, though.
Dindo's not here, but Dr.
H
Wolfgang
is.
Ulrich is. H is, Halden Haynes, who is the engineer of their car, and a whole bunch of the mechanics as well. So it's a team reunion, and the only one missing is Rinaldo Capello, because he is in Venice, apparently.
So he's taken the gin.
Formula E Geek is having an Estrella. Very nice. Speaking of Spanish things, here is Antonio Garcia.
Who is the reason why Fernando Alonso is so keen on Le Mans?
Is that correct?
Apparently so, yeah.
Did he get him into it?
They're big mates, Garcia and Fernando, and Garcia's told him how much it is about it, and then he came, obviously, as we know, to wave the checkered flag, and not the checkered flag, the start flag. But
that's really interesting. I didn't know that, and unfortunately for Antonio, lots and lots of Spaniards won't know anything about him because he has been racing so long now in sports cars. First for Aston Martin, but for a long while now for the Corvette team. And if you ply your trade in the States, ask Ryan DL, one of Scotland's most successful racing drivers, ask Dario Franchitti, another of Scotland's most successful racing drivers. Not very many people in the UK know you, because not many of them follow IndyCar, not many of them follow IMSA and so on. Racing fans will know you, but the man in the street won't know you unless you're in Formula One, and certainly the man in the newspaper who writes the stories won't know. So Antonio Garcia, probably pretty much unheralded at home in Spain.
And Aston overtaking a P2 car there. We've got a driver change in this rebellion. It's the number
Bruno
3.
Senna's out. That was him stalking away there. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Matthias Besch, rather, from number 3 car.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I thought it was...
So Matthias Besch is out. Who's in next? Let's have a look at the Gustavo Menezes, because Thomas Laurent handed over to Matthias Besch.
Yeah, and that's that sprinkly helmet on the front that we was all a bit confused about the other night.
That's exactly right, yes, well remembered, with all the glitter on. Yeah. The one that his daughter's decorated for him.
And I only got it right because I saw his name on the back of his hands device, not on his clutch helmet.
And I got it wrong despite the fact that his name was on the back of his hands device, because I wasn't looking at that, I was looking at the Red Bull logo.
So going back to, as you say, about the America and things like that, it was one of my dreams to go to the Indy 500, and the reason why is in 1991, when I was a bit of a youngster, there was an even younger person in racing, and I did the first year of Vauxhall Junior in 1991, and I was in the same race. Note that I say the same race and not competing against, as Dario Franchitti. He won the championship that year, and we kind of became a bit friendly because he was always coming down from Scotland and kind of came past where I lived, and we were kind of the northerners of the championship. So we kind of got on quite well, and kind of kept in touch with him when he was at Paul Stewart Racing, pure and simply because my cousin worked at Paul Stewart Racing. He was the truck driver. No one went anywhere without him because he was driving the truck. Nothing happened without him. And so I kind of kept in touch with him then. And then when he moved to the States, or DTM and then the States, I completely lost touch. And I promised myself I'd go to the Indy 500 while Dario was still competing. He then had that shunt and retired early. And the first year I could go was the first year he didn't do it.
Right.
And I was staggered. It's a brake pad change going on the BMW. I was staggered when I went to India. I saw him in the distance and everything. I didn't have his numbers.
Pads and discs, the whole thing.
Lot.
Now, don't forget, this 82 car, this came in with that front damper failure first, and they changed the damper. When the 81 car had the front damper failure, they took the opportunity to change the brakes as well. And in fact, we had a question about this about an hour ago, somebody saying, how many cars will need to change brakes? When do they do it? Traditionally, the brakes will probably last on a GT car, well, certainly at the Nürburgring, probably around 14 hours, and so they tend to do it there, and then you've got 10 hours left on them. Here, probably a little bit longer, because although we have some fairly high-speed stops, we don't have so many of them, and we've got long straights to help cool the disc. Let's hear from the Ford team.
Two really good lap times right now, Ryan. Again, the quickest car is Garcia behind you, but you're catching Harry seconds a lap here. Keep it up. We have 2 more laps. Where are they?
Catching Tingnell. To quickly finish off my story, I went to Indianapolis then 2014, and Dario was a megastar.
Yep.
Everybody was selfies, photographs, autographs. It was incredible. I'm thinking, like, people in the UK don't realise how big a megastar he is. He is massive in the States, and but the Indy 500 was just something else. It was this and the Indy 500. Wow.
Yeah,
amazing.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that really projected Dario into the limelight, as well as his success in the Indy 500, winning it a couple of times and winning the championship and so on, was, you know, when he was over there living in Nashville, married actress Ashley Judd. So there was, there was a big name there, and you know, that also made him a household name for reasons other than being a race car driver. And so there was the whole different thing, you know, like
if I married Kylie or something like that, well, people would know who I was.
Exactly right.
But it's never going to happen.
No, I know, because I'm going to marry her first.
Oh, right.
So we have a similar vintage, aren't we? I should be so lucky. But no, that's exactly right. But it, you know, that projected him into a whole different level of celebrity, a sort of little bit like IndyCar drivers winning Dancing with the Stars, you know, that, or going on Jay Leno, or Alex Zanardi, when he was in IndyCar, made himself a massive household name by going on Letterman, and one time went on Letterman and said, okay, next time I come, I'm going to cook some pasta for you. And so Letterman, okay, you're on. And David Letterman, we know Rahal Letterman, he's a team owner now with Bobby Rahal, but he's a massive race car fan. And so he got Alex Zanardi back and he started cooking pasta, and this now became a thing. So he's on the biggest show in America, cooking pasta and being funny and being Alex and just being genuinely, you know, disarmingly humorous and lovely, and that projected him into a whole different level of awareness in public, because he's that funny guy, the Italian guy who's also a race car driver, not he's that race car driver who wins IndyCar and who, you know, that pass at Laguna, all that stuff. He's that funny Italian guy who's also a race car driver.
There's
that tall guy from Exeter, who is also a race car driver, Harry Tincknell. He's fresh out of the 67 car.
Just swapped over. Prio's gone into that car. Muller and Briscoe, who we just heard his team radio, he's now 4th. Because obviously he was catching Tincknell, but that changed.
Lead Porsches both stopped as well. The 92 car's just gone out.
Jean-Eric Verne is now aboard the G drive car, the 26.
Yeah, that's his outlap.
I do have another story, right, unless this goes to team radio, about Dario Franchitti and Ashley Judd.
Come on, team radio, save us.
No, this is quite amusing. It didn't involve me, but it involved one of the people I work with very, very closely now in the World Rally Championship. And he was married to Dario's manager.
Right.
So she had to disappear off to the States, and she was going to be there for 2 or 3 weeks, sorting out all his contracts and everything like that. So he went with her. The husband went with her.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'll have a couple of weeks off and I'll come with you. Right, okay, blah, blah, blah. And they'd decided they were going to meet Dario for dinner one night. They'd seen him in the office, and right, we'll meet him for dinner. And they'd gone to this restaurant, and my friend, who I work with Dario's manager, were in the restaurant, and he tells the story of, he said, I'm sat in this swanky restaurant in wherever it was. He said, and I turned to the missus and I go, my word, Ashley Judge just walked in. What kind of establishment are we in? And she went, yeah. She's going to sit with us because she's Dario's wife. And he was like, what?
What?
And he had no idea.
Yeah, there you go.
He had dinner with Ashley Judd. He said it was like the most surreal experience.
I have a great Andrew Marriott story that we just don't have time to tell on air.
Oh, right, okay.
Remind me later about Andrew Marriott and dinner. Okay, car number 50 reported as having the right side door lights off. Now, as you watch the Ford coming in here, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
As you watch any car going past, the number panel isn't just stuck on a bit of plastic, it's illuminated from behind, and those are mandatory. And if they go off, if they fall off, if they stop working, in the pits, get it fixed, don't go out until it works again.
Yeah, it's a large
There you go,
competition
you can see it
car.
on the side of the Toyota. If that stops working, you're off the racetrack. And actually, if Karun was here, he'd be able to tell you a heartbreaking story about Murphy's prototype. They had one come out, and it cost them a place on the podium in LMP2. So 50 and 25, or possibly not 50 but 25, because actually we can't tell because we can't see the door panel on the right-hand side, and we're waiting for it to go past the camera on the left-hand side.
We do have a car 25 and we do have a car 50.
Yeah.
But you know, remember 2 years ago when the Fords won, and the Fords had done something and the Ferrari behind were questioning what the Ford had done. So Ford then questioned that the Ferrari's light had gone off on the door. It was all a bit kind of like, okay, yeah, we've done one thing each, so we'll just leave the results as they are, kind of thing. And Fernando Alonso on board on an outlap in the number 8 Toyota, 2 minutes 13.5 seconds away from his teammate Lopez, who is in the lead. $329 kilometers an hour.
Now the official speed trap showing it at 3:16.3 compared to 3:12.7 of Jose Maria Lopez. So the speed trap is clearly not quite at VMAX. Actually, traditionally, if you see down in the bottom corner where S2 is, you follow that up to the little kink in the line. That is Indianapolis. Traditionally now, I think it's sort of a balance between braking for the second chicane and braking for Indianapolis is where VMAX actually is on the circuit. But where it's being measured clearly is not quite where the cars are actually getting to maximum speed on the telemetry. However, the Toyotas are being measured at 3:12, 15, 16, somewhere in that lap after lap. But the fastest cars are up at 3:28, 3:29, 3:30.
3:31.8 I can see on there, but I can't see. We had two of them at
3:28. No, 3:31.8.
We had two of them on that though before. We've only got one at the minute.
I'm going to do maths, Jules.
Okay.
You'd be glad to hear. Hang on.
I'm pleased you're doing that.
3:31.8 times 0.62 equals how many miles an hour?
205.7.
205 miles an hour. Again, 205.
In the dark. Well, we don't know whether that was in the dark.
Well, no, it is, because that's this lap.
Is that this lap?
That's this lap. Those readouts change lap by lap. That's this lap.
18-year-old.
So dead of night, in the dark, and they're doing north of 200 miles an hour 2 or 3 times on the lap, every single lap, in traffic, catching cars that are doing a mere 165, 175. Can you imagine that in the GT cars? What are the GT cars doing? Let's have a look. 290, 303.
Yeah, there's a
303 from the Ferrari, 294. Right, let's see. Well, 300 kph is 192 or something, is it? 303 times 0.62 equals 187. So the GT cars, a whisker under 190 miles an hour.
So what are they? 18 miles an hour. It's still pretty rapid. Just looking there at this battle.
190 miles an hour in a GT car.
And just looking at this battle here, Phil Hansen, 18 years old. He's been in this car for about an hour, 138 minutes or something. I mean, what a thing for an 18-year-old kid. Oh, the 3 cars going in the garage. Whoa, the 3 cars in the garage.
Oh, that's the 3rd place car.
And Gustavo Menezes between 3 and 1.
Well, Gustavo Menezes got in. Did he leave?
I think he did.
He did, and he came back in.
Yes, he did leave. For sure, he left. Because that's when we saw his crash helmet.
Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right.
Out.
Absolutely. We saw him going out, didn't we? So he's gone out and comes straight back in with an issue, which moves the number 1 car that had a crash with the Toyota in the first corner up into 3rd in a lap.
Yeah, I guess they've got to come round, haven't they? 3 minutes 5 is the interval.
From Peter Fjellmyr, I beg your pardon, Peter, I'm not very good with Scandinavian silent vowels. Gap update between 7 and 8, he says. At lap 191, the last in lap, the gap was 1.35 seconds. At lap 202, another stint later, the gap was 1.19 seconds. So the two Toyotas, I think it's reasonably fair to say, are quite well balanced in terms of pace. Number 7 still leads number 8. Lopez on an outlap. Alonso is doing what might be considered some fairly decent spade work at the moment, isn't he, in that number 8 car? I couldn't tell you how long he's been in, but it's a long while. I wonder if there's a thing that tells me. There's a program that tells me, but I've got too many other things going on, and I'd make it crash.
Someone's just tweeted in, I've got to get this right, A. Bodanefo. I've got that wrong. But anyway, he's in Stockholm, halfway through, and it's already light here in Stockholm. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't get really dark at all, does it? Stockholm's even quite south in Sweden.
Yeah.
I happen to know these things now because my son's at Lund. You don't know what Lund is, do you?
No.
It's a university town. In fact, Sweden's biggest university town.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've got a lot of friends from Scandinavia, and you know, as you know, I've actually, during the summer months, twice I've been up to a place called Spitsbergen.
Yes.
To see the polar bears, and it's 24-hour daylight for a couple of months. And it's amazing. It's the weirdest thing. You only know what time of day it is by what you're eating at the dinner table.
Spitsbergen is far north Norway, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Sweden, so Stockholm and Lund are well down to, in fact, Stockholm's not quite so south. Gothenburg is a long way south, and Lund are fairly sort of equal parallels, and they're sort of about level with somewhere like Harwich.
Senna has now gone into third. He has got that time back.
Yeah, so the Rebellions swap positions.
The shaking of their heads there. I mean, the wheels are off this. It's in the air. And they've got that thing you can see on the front, the green thing, Makita. That's just cooling everything down. Oh, team radio.
Box is snap, Renault box is snap, driver change to Neil.
Okay, so they're doing singles, doubles. Bruno didn't just get in the previous stint, did he? No.
I don't think so.
I think he stayed in, no. So we're going to Neil Jarni anyway. Formula E Geek, fresh from his Estrella beer, has done another bit of spreadsheeting. He says, I believe the number 11 car will overtake the number 70 car just before the end by a lap or two, not a lot. I'll bet you a pound. See you in 11 hours, 31 minutes. Well,
11 car.
It's now 11 hours, 28 minutes. What's the number 70 car? Where's... So we haven't got page 2 on page 2 of the timing screen. I'm fed up with having page 4.
Well, that's McNish.
I know it's McNish.
He can't work the other page. I much prefer page 2 of the timing screen.
Yeah, so do I, because it actually shows all the cars.
Yeah.
And the number 70 car
But he has a hissy fit. He has a talent hissy fit when he comes in. It's on that screen. But he's not in until 5 o'clock in the morning. So.
Right.
And if he's had enough gin, he won't realise it.
The number 11 car is in 54th. The number 70 Ferrari is in 53rd and is 15 laps ahead of it. So that's their target, is to go from 54th to 53rd by overtaking an AM-class Ferrari. It's not much of a goal to be setting yourself, is it? But unfortunately, you know, but it's what it is. It's what it is, you know. Their goal now is to make the finish and to get classified as a finisher and learn as much as they can possibly about the car for the team. And unfortunately for Jensen, as we said earlier, you know, for Jensen and Fernando, two Formula 1 world champions, very, very different fortunes at this year's Le Mans, at least at the moment. And somewhere in the middle, sort of, is one Pablo Montoya, another ex-Grand Prix driver who's making his debut.
I saw a thing about that. Apparently his explanation of it was, I ran out of talent. That was his explanation in an interview.
Well, that's about as honest as JPM always was, you know. What happened there? All the talent escaped from the car.
It's a little bit like David Brabham's explanation and analysing of Tony Kanaan when he brushed the wall. You said, what happened? Well, he didn't get it right.
He didn't get it right. Ash, by the way, reminds me that the youngest ever Le Mans starter was Matt McMurray. Yes, of course it was. Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Darrell Arrowsmith comes up with a format that nobody needs, which is endurance rallycross. Surely that's like a 3-minute, 24 hours.
What game are we playing here? I've never seen that game before.
Sort of almost old-style Space Invaders.
It is, yeah.
Actually, it's not, because I can...
Look at his score. He's doing really well. 44,000.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, so where's he going to get the upgrade? Where does he get triple cannons and double rockets? I don't know. if they made endurance rallycross, what would you add to it? I would add much shorter races to it. Rallycross is good as it is, 3.5 laps, 4.5 laps, that's as much as you need, because otherwise people start to lose interest.
Philip Nowak, do you remember what speeds were achieved by Peugeot 908? Was it faster? Something like 340, 350. Now, that was before my Le Mans time. I'm a bit of a rookie Le Mans.
I believe that the fastest ever speed achieved on the Mulsanne was by a WM driven by, I think, Roger Dorchy, and they blanked off all the radiators, and I think their target was to get 400 kilometers an hour, and I think they managed it, but of course, because they blanked off all the radiators, the engine didn't last very long. Yeah, the engine didn't last very long, but it was unlike, it was an LMP 675 car, I think, and in those days, they didn't last very long. They were lucky, most of them, to make it to nightfall, and very few made it through to daylight. And so it was a tiny underfunded effort, but their target was 400 kilometers an hour. And as I recall, although it is a fair few years ago, and I haven't looked up the stats for a long while, I think they did make it. Just by the way, in the middle of the shot there is the 29. That's the Jumbo Supermarkets car. So that is Frits van Aert, Geert van der Gaard, and a man who is celebrating his 30th birthday this year. No, I beg your pardon, the 30th birthday of his win for Jaguar back in 1988,
which
this year.
I've seen the headline
at 62.
I've seen a headline for the story, but yet to read it because I've been busy doing all this other stuff here. But they were one gear change away from that car breaking or something. He had to leave it in gear, didn't he?
Yes, the sister cars had all had gearbox issues, and Jan, in the final, before I think the final hour of the race, it was getting increasingly difficult to change gear, and eventually he got it into top gear after fishing around a little bit on the straight, and having got it into gear, then decided that he didn't dare take it out of that gear because he felt the chances were it would never go back into a gear. They were leading the race, so it completed the race in top gear, including the final at least one pit stop, and Fiona Miller will have to correct me on that, on how many, because she was the PR lady at TWR Jaguar when it was Jaguar Radio Le Mans, and when I was in the pit lane reporting on it.
They were great cars, and still kept Jaguars. Wow.
And so in those days, there were no pit stop rules at all, basically. Absolutely none. There was no speed limit. There was no, you can't do this, that, or the other in the pit lane. So how did they, without a clutch and without taking the car out of gear, do the pit stops? Well, the answer is it shuddered to a halt on the brakes in 5th gear. They put it on the air jacks, filled it up with fuel. Tom Walkinshaw poured buckets of water down the radiator to help cool it down, and then still in 5th gear, still with the wheels in the air on the air jacks, they fired it up. The V12 fired in gear, got sufficient revs, pulled the line on the air jacks, dropped it onto its wheels, and away it went. And if you had enough wheels up, it had enough torque, enough wheel speed, it had enough torque, it wouldn't stall, and so it went
got out
and stayed in top gear all the way to take the checkered flag.
We just, I think this is the headlights, or somewhere in this is the headlights of those two Ford, Chip Ganassi, Team USA and Team UK, Prio in front in the UK car. But Briscoe, as we heard about 20 minutes ago, was catching that 67 car by a second a lap. And here he is now. That is Prio just in front of him.
Yeah, this is the second chicane on the Mulsanne. This is the slightly quicker of the two, a little bit more up to see how much they straddle the exit curb. And as Peter was saying earlier on, a few years ago, what is now hard shoulder was just gritty, gravelly, dirty, mucky, grassy stuff, and you wouldn't really want to go on it. And so they didn't straddle the curb, now they do. And so he took a fair slice of the curb there. Ryan Briscoe was 2.196, is now 2.002 at the end of sector 2, down to 1.967. So he is catching Andy Prio by fractions, but he is catching. And the thing now, Jules, is that the driver, every time he gets onto the brakes and onto the throttle out of a corner, is just a little bit closer and a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and he can feel it. And Prio can't quite judge the rate of closing as well as Briscoe, because of course Briscoe's in one car and can see the other. Prio's just got a glare of lights behind him.
Those mechanics asleep there. Now, just seen a tweet Old team radio, that's what I was going to talk about.
7 laps to go, 7 laps to go, gap 56, 56. Tell me if you want to know the statement that I got into the rhythm of the night.
The rhythm of the night. It's not an Erasure song that we had by Toby and Peter earlier on in the week, but he's saying, do you want me to stay in for another stint?
Would you like me to help you out on who had a hit with Rhythm of the Night? One hit wonder, El DeBarge.
El DeBarge, well, I don't know. I'm not sure whether he's kind of knowing about El DeBarge, but you know what?
Hey, he's a disco fever boy.
Well, what we've got to look at, though, someone has highlighted it on Twitter. Charles Bradley has said Alonso's taken the best part out of a minute out of Alonso. And, you know, it's under a minute. It's 55 seconds now.
Mm-hmm.
And he is zooming in and getting his targets lined up. Yeah, he's got 8. He said 8 laps to go. Did they say just then?
In the stint.
Yeah, 8 laps. That can't be right because they're only doing 10 per stint, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, they were at the start of the race.
Yeah.
So.
D. Bodenfo from Sweden tells me that my Swedish geography is better than my maths, basically. He didn't actually say that, but previous to September, my knowledge of Swedish geography was very limited, other than the Swedish rally is often not far north enough for it actually to have much snow and ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sort of vaguely correct. Lund, sort of south, Gothenburg, mid-south, and Stockholm, northern mid-south.
An update on the Rebellion number 3. Menendez is out and back on the track. He's done a lap at least because he's not on an out lap. So whatever that was that they were changing or fixing, they have changed and fixed.
There's Sam Bird looking fairly washed out.
Yeah.
It's been a long, tough race for the guys in the 71 Ferrari. And where are they now in the GTE Pro class? Oh, they're still 13th. And he's just handed over to Davide Rigon. And this is all because of a mistake by the third driver, Miguel Molinar. And that's a real kick in the teeth because the two regular guys, Sam Bird and Davide Rigon, narrowly lost out in the World Championship to teammates in the 71 car last year. And now looks like they're on the back foot again. The 71 car, the reigning world champions. James Collado, 51 car rather, James Collado and Alessandro Pierguidi, joined by Daniel Serra for Le Mans. Collado and Alessandro Pierguidi, they had a puncture early on as well, Saturday afternoon, and so they are struggling. They're only 8th in class, but they are at least in a point-scoring position. And Sam Bird and Davide Rigon are not yet. They need a bit more carnage in front of them.
Yeah, Alonso just taking another chunk out of Lopez. I mean, Lopez is obviously running through his schedule. He's got 51.5 seconds out front. But and I think Alonso was asking, do you want me to do another stint? Because I'm in the rhythm of the night. I'm happy to stay in again.
And often the team will say that. You know, you've heard it time after time. The engineers saying, okay, box in 3 laps. Are you good to do another one? Do you need tyres? Do you need drink and all of this? You know, because when you send, particularly with a rookie, when you send him out and say, okay, we're going to do a triple, you know, once you're at the end of a double and you're going to change the tyres, before he comes, you say, are you good? Are you happy to stay in? Yes, I'm fine. And then you go, okay, new tyres, and you get to the end of the 3rd stint, you say, do you want to stay in? And can you do a double-double? Yeah, and he's saying now, do you want me to? Not I can't.
He's obviously enjoying it, isn't
clearly, yeah, he's clearly ready to rock and roll. And so, you know, he's now, and we talked about this earlier, you know, getting the rhythm where everything's flowing and you're not actually thinking about driving the car. What your brain is spending all its time doing, its conscious brain, is planning the gaps in the traffic, where he's going to catch them, where he's now not consciously driving the car. That's happening autonomously because he's got the rhythm. He's braking at the right place, he's turning at the right place, he's feeling where the power comes in. Everything is just flowing nicely and he's focusing entirely on finding the gaps in traffic and judging his pace to theirs.
The 56 and the 54 car here, the Team Project 1 Porsche of Lindsay, followed by the Spirit of Race Ferrari of Fisichella. Fisichella's only just got in that car 16 minutes ago, so he might be a little bit fresher. Somewhere in these headlights is that battle going on. Fisichella right behind him, 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, you can see a little flash of headlights. And this is ex-Grand Prix driver Giancarlo Fisichella versus Pat Lindsay. I'm not sure actually how many races. I've lost my little thing of French facts.
Oh, hang about, there's 2 or 3 of them.
It's been thoughtfully tidied away.
Well, no, there's one there, but there was one put somewhere else as well.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, we'll talk amongst ourselves. Alves through. Lopez leads, as we've talked about. Alonso second. It's now 49 seconds. Neil Yanni in the Rebellion is in third. The second Rebellion is back on track, as we mentioned just before. LMP2 is 5th place overall, the leader of that. It's a G-Drive racing car. Jean-Eric Verne on board. Lapierre is 1 lap away in second. Then the Panas Bartes car is 23 seconds away, so that's not so bad. But Lapierre is going away from the Bartes car. He overtook him. We saw it about 30 minutes ago. We saw him dive down the inside of Mulsanne with a massive lockup, and he got himself sorted. This is a battle on screen for GTE AM, and it's a battle between 4th and 5th place drivers.
Pat Lindsay is a Le Mans rookie, and in fact, 2 of the 3 drivers in that 56 car are Le Mans rookies, because so is DJ Perfetti. Although he's a Le Mans 24-hour rookie, but DJ Perfetti has raced at Le Mans in a Porsche before, because he raced in Road to Le Mans last year.
Okay.
Ah, so there you go. So there is Fizzy, Giancarlo Fisichella in the 54 Ferrari.
Something quick in behind them as well here. It's a
G-Drive car. And in actual fact,
not the leader though, not the leading one.
No, last lap, the number 26 G-Drive car, 2 laps ago now, Jean-Eric Verne set the car's fastest lap of the race. So with 11 hours, coming up to 11 hours left to go, and nearly 13 hours in the can, he is still finding more pace in the car. It's 3:47 in the morning. What time is sunrise? I shall ask the thingy.
The thingy, yeah, well, we'll ask the thingy.
I shall ask.
This is now down to 3.49. So, as you can see, you don't really need a stopwatch. Fisichella's got his sights on the back of what Toby Moody has called the Bumblebee Porsche, because it's black and yellow and looks like a bumblebee. And Fisichella got a great run out of there. He's right up behind him. He'll have to wait till the first chicane, I think, but Fisichella right up behind the Team Project 56 Porsche. Got a great run out of the Dunlop.
Yep. Now, more G-Drive tomfoolery.
Here they come, that's them there.
There they go. And right behind them is the AM class leader, possibly, or is that the 88 Khaled El Khabaisi? No, I think that's the 77 car of Julian Andlauer. And he is the AM class leader, the 77 Dempsey Proton car.
The Ferrari is right up behind. I don't think Fisichella's going to be able to do it. He might have to wait to the second one.
Yep.
He needs a good run out. Sacrifice a little bit on the way in and get a good run out.
So this is the battle for the podium. You can see the 3 orange lights on the side of Pat Lindsay's car. That means he's 3rd place in the AM category. This is a replay of...
is that the jumbo car?
Yes, it looks like it, and that might be a cylinder gone in that jumbo LMP2 car.
29, yeah.
Because it is flaming a lot from the exhaust. Something is burning down the exhaust that shouldn't be, and I'm afraid that might spell the end of the race for the man who has started more races at Le Mans than anybody else currently in the field, which is Jan Lammers.
Ollie Gavin just into the pits here, and you can see on the front of that car, you talked about it a couple of hours ago, the dirt.
Filth, yeah.
And, you know, am I right? Well, not am I right? Did I hear right? Was someone telling me the true story? But, like, these people, these teams that win the big one, they win it outright, like Porsche in the past and all these teams. when their car, it might not happen now, but when their car wins, they lacquer it and it goes in the museum.
Well, it used to be the case that it was cleaned, rebuilt, and just raced on. But more recently, certainly Audi have. I know a number of the Audi drivers actually have winning chassis that won races.
Lena was telling us, you weren't in. Was it Lena telling us?
They do. Now they do, because people want to see what it looks like. I can remember seeing winning Le Mans Jags at a motor show or a car show, like at Autosport International or something next year.
Still all dirty?
Absolutely pristine.
Oh.
And it's so disappointing, because I remember what it looked like when I was there in the pit lane. And then you see it, you know, 6 months later, and it's as clean as a whistle and absolutely virgin and untouched. And that's, you know, you want to see it looking like it's had a hard life. And in fact, one of the first ones I remember seeing after that was a Shell Porsche, which basically had the entire windscreen held in by gaffer tape. I remember seeing it later, months later, or possibly even a couple of years later, still in that state. And I thought, that's what you want. Bear the scars of victory, bear the scars of battle, you know. That's what you want. You want to see these cars, because God knows they have a tough life.
The 31 car, which is the Dragon Speed, is under investigation. Is that someone into the pits?
Okay, now that is Fisichella, who's gone through into third place, has he?
Yeah, it's because Team Project has gone in down pit road.
And right behind him is the car that's the leader in the class. Julian Andlauer is about to put a lap. That's that Dempsey Proton Porsche, the 77 car, is about to put a lap on the car that is third in its own class. Pat Lindsay is in, shares with DJ Perfetti, as I said, and Jörg Bergmeister. Really good to see Bergmeister here
look
again.
at all this, they need to get rid of that bit of
gunk. Yes,
gunk.
absolutely.
Yeah, gunk out of the front. Now, someone was telling us today, yesterday, I'm not sure, but when Audi stopped, apparently the drivers were allowed to buy the cars. And one of them, and I'm only telling half a story because I can't remember
the other half.
One of them has bought, and these other two teammates basically were beaten to it. And he now owns one of their winning cars from one of the Le Mans.
I believe Dindo, who is an Audi dealer, I believe he has.
It wasn't Dindo they were talking about. So
I absolutely guarantee that Tom Christensen's got one somewhere. I don't think Alan's got anywhere to stock one, so I'm not sure if he has. But yeah,
I think it was part of like the Trellier, Lotterer, Duval kind of like era.
Well, they won enough to have one each and still leave Audi with some.
Yeah, well, apparently, and I can't remember if it was Lena who was telling us when she was in earlier.
Very likely. You know, like Alan, she knows where a lot of the bodies are buried, and she doesn't mind mentioning it. You saw the burnt bodywork. What happens with carbon bodywork is that when it gets burned like that, it doesn't burn up. It just sort of crumbles into dust a bit, and that's what happened to the side there.
Just is the electrics and things like that.
Well,
in there,
you can see that's a cooling duct that's come disconnected and has not been doing any cooling. So something potentially has been flailing around in there, or maybe that's just a result of the fire. Gerde van der Garde brought the car in. And so the team, Racing Team Netherlands, not racing for Holland, that's Jan Lammer's old team. This is Racing Team Netherlands, run by Frits van Aert, the man who runs Jumbo Supermarkets. And that is the car.
Oh, the three cars back in.
No. This is all highlights of the last couple of hours.
Oh, man.
Panic ye not.
Yeah,
the number 3 Rebellion is back out. It lost 2 laps. It was 1 lap ahead of its teammate. It's now 1 lap behind.
That's okay. And you know what? In 22nd place on an outlap, car 10. My favourite.
We're probably going to talk to him later and find out that it's
Renger van der Zande. I think it's a great name. Yeah. It's a brilliant name.
Which is,
we got
I pretty much guarantee that is not how it's pronounced, but that's how we pronounce it. That's how we mangle it. Yeah, so they plugged in the diagnostics into the engine, into the ECU, the engine control unit. There's the Gibson engine technology man behind, and there's their data engineer at Racing Team Netherlands. trying to find out what's going on.
Oh, the 40 cars are shunted.
That is at the end of the Porsche curves.
I tell you what, he's just on the edge of the track there as well.
And you know where he's gone? He's gone where everybody's gone, where that wall has been removed. He's had a big looping moment, backed it into the wall and bounced off it a bit.
Gutierrez on board.
Yeah.
Remember, oh, here we go, here we go.
Same accident everybody's had, and the same tank slapper. And look
Something
at the
broke
sparks from under. Yeah, absolutely, because that car is not on its tyres, it's on its belly, sparking away. And exactly as we saw with the SMP car, something has let go.
But it just changed direction really quickly.
Absolutely,
and
total tank slapper.
You think 20 laps into last year's race, it was the 26G drive that slammed the wall only about 150 metres earlier.
Yeah.
Taking out the Dempsey racing car of Alcabazi, wasn't he? He was in the car, I think, at the time when that went off.
So Jose Gutierrez is the man who is on board, and he's going to try and get it restarted. The problem is, like the SMP car, I think it was a left rear failure that basically put him into a massive tank slapper. And again, you know, we talked to Alan about it and at the time, and they're probably doing 170 miles an hour there. That is one of the fastest corners in endurance racing, and it's really, really not a good place for the suspension to go. But because they're so loaded up, it's actually a really, really likely place for a weakened suspension to go.
I'm gonna say something, and I'm not.
Are you going to regret it in a moment?
No. But obviously he went a long way off that. He went into that whole new runoff area that's been built this year and still slammed the wall hard. I wonder if there hadn't been the big runoff area, whether he would have actually had as much momentum.
He would have gone into a wall that was much closer, much faster.
At a different angle as well, you know what I mean? But he might have pinballed off another one, that's the thing, so...
Well, and that's, you know, the reason they moved the wall back is because a lot of people hit that wall very hard.
I've seen more moments there this year than I have in my 3 previous visits. And I think it's now potentially people are able to, or they believe they're able to just hang it out a little bit more because they've got that 25 meters of runoff, which just gives them just a little bit of comfort blanket.
It makes the accidents more survivable. We've had a lot of cars wrecked, and we've had a few injuries there as well. Yeah, Magnussen had a really huge one a few years ago. Well, there is Jose Gutierrez, and he's abandoned the car, and wisely so. And I think, like the SMP car, that is going no further. So we may scratch the number 40G drive car. Now, he will have been shaken. Look at this, it swaps ends totally. What's he doing there? When he hits the wall, he's probably still doing 140.
I mean, it was sparking.
That goes in on driver's side as well.
Yeah, it was sparking as if there was no tyre on the left rear or...
Either that or the suspension was broken. It was basically running on the floor and the rim and the exhaust and everything else. Yeah, that was not a nice accident, and we may get away with just a slow zone. We may not. Jenson Button getting ready to take to the wheel of the BR Engineering car again. And although he's sort of given us a little thumbs up, I think he's probably... that's down at Mulsanne corner. That's Arnage, in fact.
But it's not someone who's in that battle. I just saw a Ferrari, but it's the other one, the Clearwater Racing one.
Yeah, went into somebody's vegetable patch.
Quite fast.
Ooh, backed it in there. Yeah, got distracted, I think, by having a Corvette coming up behind him. And the Clearwater Racing car goes off. So who's at the wheel of 61? Sawa. Keita Sawa. So he's...